Welcome back. I'm Jerry and this is Roth. We're Sky Management. Today we're going to be installing a track lighting from Roth. We're going to be replacing this light up here on the ceiling that's an outdated light fixture in a junction box in the ceiling. So to start out, we're going to go ahead and unscrew the finial cap on the end of this light and drop the old globe down, making sure not to drop or cut yourself when you're doing it. Now these older fixtures like this that just attach underneath typically have 2 to 4 bulbs, and they're usually held in by a couple of screws that will usually need to be loosened so they can twist out of these eyelets, as you see, that are up there in the ceiling. Sometimes you can just twist them off by hand without having to unscrew them. We'll just see what Ross decides to do. Going to be loosening me. Now behind this you'll find some wires. There'll be a ground wire and a neutral wire and a hot wire. There'll be a black, white, and a neutral. And these wires are what make the light work. So before you go messing with any wires, you're going to want to make sure either the breaker is off and your light switch is off, or both. And as you can see, there is a junction box that is mounted in the ceiling for safety, and the ground wire is actually mounted to that metal junction box. I'm not really at a good spot to show you right there, so that's key. You need to make sure that for safety you've got that. And once we get this wire nuts off of here, we are then ready to install the new light. So we're going to go ahead and remove the existing screws that were holding up that other light, because they're pretty long and they're old and they're flathead screws, and the new ones came with some Phillips head screws that came with the new light. So we're going to be using those to install the base plate, which is right there. Now if your old light had an existing base plate, you'll need to remove it because you're going to be installing this new one. Each base plate will be different depending on which brand of light that you get, but these track lights from Roth come with a circular base plate that allows usually about 30 degrees or so worth of play. Once you get it up in there, you'll have some different options of where to put the screws to hold the base plate to the box based off of how you want the orientation of your light to end up facing in the end. Being is that these are track lights, you can adjust them any number of different ways for the arms as well as the lights themselves, so flexibility is key with a lot of these track lighting products. You're going to make sure that you snug that up real good to the ceiling into that other junction box, and what that's going to do is connect the metal to the metal, which will allow that ground to transfer to this green grounding screw that is on here. So now whenever you get the new light ready to go, you will need to be attaching the copper line out of the new light to that grounding screw. If you had a plastic housing box behind this and not a metal box, you would need to connect the wire directly to this grounding screw from the supply. Now that you've got the grounding screw in place, you just connect white to white and black to black. Those are your hot and neutral lines. This Roth product is an LED light fixture that has everything already built in, including the bulbs and everything else, so it's really a pretty simple track light to install. Once you get those connected, you can kind of stand back and hit the light switch just to test it, make sure that all the lights work and that everything is ready to go. And now that we know that it works, we can go ahead and tuck those lines back up in the housing and then get it attached to the ceiling, and we'll show you how to do that. Now that you've got all the wires tucked up in there, you just have to install the little cap screws on the end, and you want to make sure to get these nice and tight because they're really the only thing holding this light up there against the ceiling. Once you get them all tight on there, you can always try the light again and make sure that it works, and then you can adjust the arms as well as the individual housings for the lights on there. If you're going to be adjusting the arms, I will say on this brand they are kind of stiff, so you're going to want to hang on to that middle part of the housing up there if you're going to be wanting to bend the actual arms, but the lights themselves turn pretty easily. When you're putting the final screws on, if for some reason it doesn't get completely snug up to the ceiling, there's some adjustments that can be made right here. You'll have to loosen those nuts that are holding that in place, and then they can drive these screws back a little bit, which will then pull the whole light itself back up to the wall whenever you're done. Once that's tightened up, we're ready to put the bulbs in it. If your light requires bulbs, some of them are LEDs that come with the bulbs already in there. And then we can try it out. Looks like it's working. That's how you install a track light.